Bas B. Pizer in memory of her father, Yisachar Dov ben Shmuel, Stanley Presser in memory of his wife, Chayalea Bas Zev HaKohen, the children and grandchildren of Vicky and Larry Fish in their honor, and in memory of Rebecca's uncle and Lewis's brother. I believe Pesach ben Yosef. Okay. Week of learning Yossi and Sippi Peleg in memory of his mother, Shprinza Bas Akiva. Marcia and Gary Schrager in memory of her father, Shmuel ben Meir. And a day of learning by Silky. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Kaiman in memory of her mother, Gittel Etta Bas Yitzchak. Also, Jerry and Rachel Ebner in memory of his mother, Rania Bas Yaakov Yitzchak. We also dedicate the learning today for a successful surgery for our friend and my chavrusa, Ruven Zev Ben Fredel, who has a surgery even as we speak. And he'll be back Thursday, Friday, Hashem. Okay, we're at the Mishnah on the bottom of Pei Vav. We've learned, we've taken the halachas, some of the halachas in this Mishnah for granted all through. But now we're getting the Mishnah, it's going to spell it out. Now, when I do the Mishnah, everybody's hand's going to pop up and you're going to say, it ain't like that. And I'm going to say, don't pop your hand up, because the very first thing the Gemara will say when we finish the Mishnah is, it ain't like that. Okay. So with that Hakdama on the bottom of Pei Vav Amid Beis, the Mishnah, 1, 2, 6 lines from the bottom. A Bas Yisrael, that means a Stama Jewish girl, Shanisa Kohen, who marries a Kohen, Teichel Truma. She's allowed to eat Truma at her husband's table. Mace, if the husband dies, below a menu ben, and she happens not to have any children. Okay. Where am I? Mace below a menu ben, or Teichel what did I do? I just dropped the spot. Okay. I'm sorry, it's okay. All right, let's go again. Okay, so if she marries a Kohen, she can eat Truma. If he dies, and she does have a son, that's where I got confused. Teichel with Truma, she can still eat Truma out the child. Nisas Levi, if she is now a widow, and she's eating Truma on the power of her sons being a Kohen. But she remarries, and she marries a Levi. Okay, Nisas Levi. Okay, Teichel b'maiser. She then may eat meiser. Now she loses her right to eat truma because her relationship with the new husband is stronger in terms of the truma and meiser business than her relationship with her son. Okay, so now she can eat meiser with the Levi. Mace v'lohemenu bein. If the Levi dies and she has children with the Levi, a son with the Levi, she may continue eating Teichel Meiser. She may continue eating Meiser on the kayach of she's the mother of a Levi. Now, what if she remarries? Now, one question that you should be asking here, to which I do not have an answer, is why is she marrying a third time? Because there's a rule that if you have two dead husbands, you may not remarry. But apparently this Mishnah was written, number one, we don't like this Mishnah entirety anyway. And number two, it's possible this Mishnah was written before they hashed out whether it's 2 or 3 dead husbands. So this Mishnah may take the position, not like Rebbe, that it's 3 dead husbands before you can remarry.
I also heard that if the husband died a natural death, it doesn't apply, but if they die on, I heard that.
I understand, but that's not the halacha. The halacha is 2 dead husbands. But again, it's a machlaikis, is it 2 or 3? So we have to say the Mishnah goes with the 3. All right, and if he's run over by a car, may be different than if he has cancer, I don't know. So Nisas Yisrael, so this very active young widow now marries a Yisrael. Loi teichel lo betruma lo b'meiser. She cannot eat either truma or meiser. The fact that she has sons doesn't empower her. The husband sort of de-empowers her. Okay, mace. Now, what happens if the Yisrael, the 3rd husband, dies? Okay, v'lo hamenu ben, and she has children, or at least one son, with the now dead Yisrael. So she does not revert to the Kohen or Levi mother status, because her Yisroel son is just as close, and she cannot eat truma or meiser. Okay? Now we're going to knock off the children. So let's say that this woman has had 3 husbands, a Kohen, a Levi, and Yisroel. She has 1 child by each of them. That makes it simpler. Okay? And Meis Bename Yisroel, the Yisroel's son Nebuch passes away. So she bounces back to being the mother of a Levi, Teichel Meiser. And she may eat meiser because now she bounces back. She doesn't have any connection anymore with the Yisroel. The husband's dead, the kids are dead. She's not part of that family anymore. She goes back to the Levi family. Okay, now what happens if the Levi dies? Meis Benab made Levi. If the Levi son dies, now she's Ois Levi. And she goes back to the kahuna because she has a living Kohen son and Teichel Betruma. Okay? So she still has this link to her living Kohen son. Now, if this woman is like the worst luck in the history of the universe, and now her Kohen son dies, right? Meis Bename Kohen. So now all her husbands are dead and all her kids are dead. Lo teichel lo betruma lo b'meiser. She can neither eat truma or meiser. Okay, so that's the daughter of a Yisroel who has serial marriages with Kahanim, Leviim, and Yisrael. Now we're going to talk about a Bas Kohen. Bas Kohen Shenisas Yisrael, a Kohen's daughter. Now, when she's a single woman, she lives in her father's house. She can eat truma in her father's house. But she marries a Yisroel, lo teichel betruma. She can no longer eat truma because she moves out of her father's house and moves in with her husband. Mace, v'lo himenu bein. If the husband passes away and she does not have children by him, she can return to her father's house. Okay, I'm sorry. And she does have a son, Mace v'lo himenu ben. If the husband dies and she has a son or more with this Yisroel, lo teichel betruma, because she's considered a Yisrael family, she does not return to Tati's house. Now, what happens if she remarries Nisas LeLevi? She marries a Levi, Teichel b'meiser. Now she's Mrs. Levi and she can eat truma. I eat meiser. Mace, v'lo hemenu bein. If the Levi dies and she has a son through the Levi, Teichel b'meiser, she can eat meiser because she's the mother of a Levi. Nisas lekohen, if she then upgrades and marries Mel, right? Teichel b'truma, she can eat truma again. Remember, she started out as a bas kohen, so she ate truma as a child, and now as a multiple widow, she eats truma again because she's now married to a kohen. Meis v'lehemenu bein, if the kohen husband dies, and she's got children by him, Teichel b'truma, she can eat truma because she's the mother of a kohen. Now, Meis bename kohen, if the kohen who died and left her with a son on whose credit she's eating truma, that son dies, like Teichel b'truma, she no longer can eat truma, but she bounces back to being the mother of a Levi, and she can eat meiser by the Levi. Meis bename Levi, if the Levi son now dies, lo teichel meiser, she can no longer eat meiser because she's still the mother of a Yisroel. She can't go home to Tati. Meis bename Yisroel, but if now the children or child or children of the Yisrael also die, so she's now left bereft of any family. She goes home, chazeres lebeis avia. She goes home to her father's house where she may eat truma again. You look funny, Mel. What? No. Okay, and about this woman, I'm not sure. I think this is somewhat ironic because this woman just lost 3 husbands and a bunch of kids. And the Gemara says, Al zu nemar this about this woman, the pasuk says, V'shava al beis aviha kina'aruha. She goes back to the father's house where she was when she was a little girl. May lechem aviha teichel, and she eats from the bread of her father. Okay, so meis benam me levi teichel betruma. The Gemara said if the Levi's son dies, she bounces back and she can eat truma by the Kohen's son. V'hadra achla mishum benah. So this law that she can eat truma again, based on the fact that she has a living Kohen son, Minolan. How do we know that halacha? Okay, Omer Rav Abba, Omer Rav, Bas Ubas. We have the word that pasuk needed only to say Bas, the daughter of a Kohen. There's a vav, ubas, okay? And we darshan the vav to say that the son gives her the right also to eat. Okay, come on. So who does this have to be? Obviously, Rebbe Akiva. That has to be Rebbe Akiva because he's the only one that darshans vavin, the darshe vavin, that he darshans vavin. So you could say if you the Rabbanan Kula Ubaskra Yiserihi, because the rabbis might argue that the entire word Ubas, not just the Vav, is superfluous. Tana Rabbanan Kishahu Choseres, when she goes back to her father's house, Choseres Litruma, she can eat the food served in her father's house, which includes Truma. The Enochazeres Lachaza Vashok. We had this concept earlier, but she does not have the right to eat the Matanas Lakahuna, the Chaza Vashok, because they have a higher status of Kedusha. Okay, Omer Rav Chisda, Omer Ravina Bar Shila. Rav Chisda says in the name of Ravina Bar Shila, my craw, where is there a pasuk that gives her the right to eat truma, but not the cause of a show. Who he betrumas hakedoshim loy teichel, from the truma of the holies, meaning the gifts of the kahanim of that have that level of kedusha, she may not eat. B'moira min hakedoshim loy teichel, she may not eat the foods that are separated from other holy foods, meaning the breast and the thigh, these parts of a shlomim that the Kohen gets to eat. So since they are kodshe kalim, that's a higher level of kedusha than the truma, and a pasuk openly says she can't eat them. Reb Nachman Omer, Rav ben Avuha, Reb Nachman says in the name of Rav ben Avuha, Melechem. He uses a different pasuk. Pasuk says she can eat from the bread. Truma is grain, so she may eat from the bread. V'lo kol lechem, but not from all the foodstuffs. Here, the first time the word lechem is used literally meaning to bread, and the second time the word lechem is used to meaning from foodstuffs. Okay, prat lechazav v'shok, that is the exclusion for the chazav v'shok. So we have two psukim. Maschif Rami Bar Chama, we had challenged that second pasuk. Aim prat lepras v'nidorim. Maybe that would mean, okay, we know that a single woman, if she makes a vow, her father can nullify it. A married woman, if she makes a vow, her husband can nullify it. Maybe this pasuk means that she can eat by her father's table when she goes home, but his ability to nullify her vows is not restored. Okay, Ema prat lahafras nedarim, to cancel her vows. So is that what the pasuk could mean? Omerava kaved paska tana debe Rebbe Yishmael. We already established, we ever met a psak from the yeshiva of Rabbi Yishmael, the Tana debe Rebbe Yishmael, because they teach a brisa by Rebbe Yishmael. The neder almana ugerusha yakom oleha, a widow or a divorcee's vows are in her hands alone, are binding on her, and nobody can possibly cancel them. That's a pasuk. Okay, Matal Midlomer, what does that pasuk mean? Hello, Motza'a Miklal Av, Motza'a Miklal Baal. Doesn't that mean that when she was married, her husband could cancel, but now that the marriage is over, then nobody can cancel her vow, and her father can't cancel her vow. Elahare Shemoiser Ha'av Shaluche Ha'Baal. However, if the father of a young woman who's just newly married turns her husband over to shluchim of the father turns her over to shluchim of the husband. Now, he lives in Pampatisa, she's in some other city, and they deliver her to the shluchim who will take her to the husband. Okay. The nisarmala o nisgorsha b'derech, and her husband dies before she gets there, or her husband divorces her before she gets there. Hai chani kra ba besa viha shelzu. What would be the deal? What pasuk would apply to her? One hand, she left her father. But on the other hand, she never really joined her husband. So does the father revert to the right to cancel her vows or not? Base Bala is okay. Base Avia Shelzu, she's out of her father's house. Base Baila Shelzu, or is she governed by the rules of her husband's house? Elalaimer so the Pasuk tells you, Kevin, Shiyotza Sha'achas, Mirishus Ha'av, as soon as she's out of her father's house for even a few minutes, Sha'achas, it means just the briefest amount of time.
Michael, where are you up to?
What?
Where are you up to? Where are you up to?
I'm up to pay Zion about the. Oh, we're on the wrong daf? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm ahead. Okay, so I'll go back. We're doing pay Vav. Oh, okay. I read the wrong Mishnah. Pay Hey. Okay. Sorry about that, boys and girls. I've learned ahead with Ruven. Okay. Bas Yisrael may ores kayen. A Jewish woman, a daughter. That's where I am. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines in the bottom. I was doing tomorrow's daf. Sorry, folks. Okay. Bas Yisrael me'ureses lekohen. A Jewish girl is betrothed to a kohen. She's an arusa, not an isua. Okay? Or miuberes kohen. Or she got impregnated by her husband, the kohen, who then either divorced her or died. Okay? Shomeres yavam lekohen. Her husband, one kohen, died. She has no children. She's waiting to do yibum with the next husband, the next sibling. Okay? V'chein bas kohen liYisrael, and similarly, if she's a bas kohen and these relationships she's impregnated by or a widow of, or what of a Yisrael, like teichel b'truma, she can't eat truma anymore. Okay? In the case of a Bas Kohen, and if she is a Bas Yisrael who was married to a Kohen, she can't because she doesn't have a kid yet. She will be able to once the kid is born, but he's not yet born, so she can't eat. And the Zika isn't enough to let her eat truma. Okay? Lo techel b'truma. Now, Bas Yisrael me'ereses leLevi, a Jewish girl who's engaged to a Levi or an arusa to a Levi. Me'uberes me'Levi, or she's impregnated by a Levi who then divorces her or dies. Shomeres Yavam leLevi, she's waiting for the brother Levi to deal with her as a Yavama. The Chain Bas Levi Yisrael, or the other way around, Lo Teichel Meiser. She can't eat Meiser.
Whoever heard of
What?
food of a Levi being restricted?
I said don't ask.
Okay.
That was the Hakdama. I just turned to the wrong page. Okay. Bas Levi Umesis Kohen. What about a Bas Levi who's engaged, who has a rusa with a Kohen? Meuberes me Kohen, or is impregnated by a Kohen. Shomeres Yavam leKohen is waiting for Yibum. V'chein Bas Kohen leLevi, or the other way around. Like Teichel lo b'truma lo b'meiser, she loses the right to eat what she did at her father because she's now has this relationship with the other fellow. But that relationship either is terminated or is not completed. So thank you. So she can't eat truma or meiser. So now we're going to ask Bob's question. Gemara is going to ask, Vaha Zara. All she is, she's a stranger. She's not a Levi. But whoever said there's a din that a non-Levi can't eat meiser? You can be invited to the Levines and eat meiser there. Vaha Zara, all she is a stranger. Zora mi ochla b'meiser. No worse than a stranger, and a neighbor could eat meiser by the Levi. So Omer Reb Nachman. So we don't paskin like this. Omer Reb Nachman, Omer Shmuel, Homani. Who is the author of this Mishnah that says she can't, that a Jewish woman can't eat meiser? Rebbe Meir. It's Rebbe Meir. The Omer Meiser Rishon Asher Lazarim. Reb Meir is a Das Yachid. He says that nobody but a Levi or a Kohen can eat meiser. To Sanya, and he cites a brisa. Turn the page. Truma leKohen u'meiser rishon leLevi. A truma can only be eaten by a kohen, or literally can only be given to a kohen, and Meiser Rishon can only be given to a Levi. We're going to qualify that. It may also, according to Meir, be given to a Kohen. And Divrei Rebbe Meir. That's what Rebbe Meir says. Now, his Baal Plukta, Reb Elazar ben Azariah, Matira LeKohen. He says you can even give Meiser Rishon to a Kohen, because a Kohen, becoming a Kohen, he argues, does not lose his status as a member of Shevet Levi. Okay? Matiro. So now we're going to say maybe he doesn't mean you can give it to a Levi. Maybe what he means is that I take it to a Kohen, the Meiser Rishon. Matiro, maybe that means Mikal to Ika Manda Usser. Maybe he means that a Kohen can eat Meiser. Okay? But which would imply that since it says Rabbi Eliezer says that there's somebody out there who's not going to say that. It's going to say that a Kohen cannot eat. But everybody agrees, of course a Kohen can eat Meiser. Even if you say Yisrael can't eat Meiser, a Kohen is indeed part of Shevet Levi. So we have to reinterpret the first statement. Truma LeKohen, Meiser Rishon LeLevi means you can give Truma or Meiser to a Kohen, give. And it means Ella Ema Nasnu Af LeKohen. You may even give Meiser to the Kohen. My time at the Reb Meir. What's the rationale behind Reb Meir? Omer Ravacha bereit the Rabba Mishmei the Gemara. Ravacha says in the name of a Messiah from Reb Meir himself. Ki es Meiser b'nei Israel asher yurimu lashem truma. The pasuk translates the Meiser of the Jewish people that's considered truma to God. So here, the word truma is used as a definition of the word Meiser. Meiser here is Meiser Rishon. So how do we cope with that? Okay, how do we handle that the truma is called Meiser? Truma asura lazarim, just as a non-Kohen may not eat truma. Af Meiser Rishon asur lazarim. We're going to apply the word truma to the Meiser and say Meiser may not be eaten by people outside of Shevet Levi. Now we're going to say, okay, you're going to make an analogy between that truma, Meiser is like truma. How far do you carry the analogy? Ma truma chayavan alav misa v'chamesh. If a czar wantonly, intentionally steals a Kohen's truma and eat it, he's chayav misa b'dei shemayim. If it's inadvertent, you walk into the Kohen's house and you eat you pick up a cookie and you eat it, it turns out to be truma, you have to pay 125%, the extra fifth. Okay? So is that af, meiser, chayav, and alav, misa, v'chamesh? Not only should a Brahmowitz not be able to eat at the Levine's house, but they should have to get misa b'dei shemayim if they eat willfully, and they should have to pay extra for the meal if they do it inadvertently. So is that how far we carry the analogy? Amakra umeso bo ki yachaliluhu. The pasuk regarding the actual sin of eating truma and the penalties therefore has the word bo, meaning it. Okay, which is a limiter. The Yosef Chamisha so olav, and the pasuk elsewhere says, if it's inadvertent, he pays the extra fifth. And again, it has the word olav for it, which is a limiter. Bo velo meiser, truma only and not meiser because of the bo. Olav paying the chamesh, of the lo al meiser, only on the truma and not on the meiser. So we see the psukim themselves limit how far you could carry the analogy if you hold from the analogy, which is only Reb Meir. What?
Extra 50 paid to the
Yeah. Yeah, you still, you go into, well, not anymore, of course, but you go into Mel's house and you eat his cookies, you eat 4 cookies, you got to give back 5.
What if I eat 2?
I don't know how to do the math. You break the cookies in half, you lick off the cream, and then you give them just the other. All right. For Rabbanan, if the Rabbanan say that anybody can eat meiser, what do the Rabbanan do with these psukim, with this analogy? Ma truma toiveles. They say, you have a pile of grain. A farmer grows a pile of grain until he takes out truma that's called tevel. Just as the non-removal of truma makes the pile called tevel, af meiser rishon nami tevel. So too, the non-removal of the meiser rishon, the grain still has the definition tevel. That's going to lead to a whole bunch of halachas with regard to amei haaretz who do take truma and don't take meiser. We have whole stuff on that. Ukidesanya, and the rabbis go with the following brisa. Rabbi Yossi Omer Yachol Lo Yichayev Ela Al Tevel Shelo Horim Mimenu Kol Iker. I might have guessed that the word tevel and the restrictions of not eating tevel only apply if nothing, meaning only truma, has been removed from it. Harim mimena truma gedayla v'lo harim mimena meiser rishon. That would mean if I took out, it would be all right if I only took out truma and I did not take out meiser. Meiser rishon below meiser sheni, or if I only took out meiser rishon and I didn't take out meiser sheni, meiser. Okay, afilu meiser, meiser rishon below meiser sheni v'afilu meiser oni, or in the 3rd and 6th years, I didn't take out meiser oni. Menayin, how do I know that it's all true tevel? Till everything you have to give away is given away. Talmud lomer lo toichel leecho b'sha'arecha. You may not eat those food, the meiser within your gates. And we're going to make a gezerah shava to the word gates. Okay, that means outside of Jerusalem. Ulahalan, and another pasuk it says, "Who Aimer," it says like this: "The achlo b'sha'arecha v'saveyu." With regard to the meiser only given to the poor people, it says they can eat it anywhere they like in their gates, and they can be satisfied through it. Okay, so we have the 2 uses of gates, right? As a gezerah shava. Ma she'arecha ha'amar halan meiser ani. Just as the permission to eat outside of Jerusalem, meiser ani, so to af she'arecha ha'amar kan meiser ani. We said by meiser ani, the amar rachmana lo toichel. You can't eat it until you do it. So you have this gezerah shava that not taking anything out. You have to take out truma, you have to take out mishon, you have to take out sheni before you can eat it. Okay, that's how they deal with those concepts. So if you're going to learn it like that, then it's just a lav. Remember, with the previous limud said you get misa b'dei shamayim, which is worse than a lav. Lav is just malchus. So now, even though there's no human punishment, misa b'dei shamayim is worse than a lav. But now it just says don't do it until you take out truma. It's stam a lav. Okay? Avul misa lo, but you do not have the punishment of misa. Kamash Malon. So you go back to the analogy that even the Rabbanan can use the analogy to say that eating tevel without taking out mice is, or if they want to say that a Levi, you can't eat mice, like Rebbe Meir, would be a Misa B'dei Shemayim case.
What's the difference between Misa B'dei Shemayim and Koresh?
Koresh is worse. Misa B'dei Shemayim, you're walking across Lions Road, you get hit by a car. But you go to Gehenna for 12 months, you go to heaven after that, you can have children. There are various definitions of Koresh. One is that your neshama never makes it to whatever it is that neshamas make it to. Another is that you do not have children, or so that would mean that children might die. And when people, Rahman al-Islam, lose a child under 13, that's considered a possible indicator that that guy has Koresh. There are various definitions of exactly what Koresh is, but it's much worse than Misa B'dei Shemayim. You're not cut off from the Jewish people. Your life is just truncated. Okay? All right. Lishna Achrina, another way of doing this. Somebody else had a question? Lishna Achrina, another way of looking at this whole thing. Maisha Rishon, when it comes to Maisha Rishon, the Tavil, the Rebbe Yossi, Nafka, Rebbe Yossi learns the rules of Maisha Rishon, leaving the material still Tavel, from the pasuk that you cannot eat. Okay, so how do the rabbis deal with that vis-a-vis the analogy? If you only learn it from the pasuk, you can't eat it. Hava amina lalav. I would say it's simply a lav. Avol misa lo, but the misa b'dei shemayim doesn't happen. So kamash malon, the analogy. This is just a shorter form. That the analogy does stretch the penalty to misa. Okay, now. We talked about that the Bas Yisrael cannot eat Meiser if she's awaiting marriage to a Levi. She's either an Arusa or a Yavama. And we said that's Reb Meir, right? So, B'mayu kumta, who do you say the author of our Mishnah is? Because we don't paskin like our Mishnah. We say it's a Das Yachid, it's Reb Meir. It's like Reb Meir. So that worked fine with the beginning of the Mishnah. Aim a sefer, but what about the end, the later part of the Mishnah? Bas Levi miureses lekohen, the daughter of a Levi who is an Arusa by a Kohen. Bas Kohen leLevi, or the other way around. Lo taicha lo betruma lo b'maiser, she can't eat anything. Hachi maiser Arusa ika. Where is she a quote a Zora in those cases? She's either a Bas Levi and on her own right to eat Meiser, or she's a Bas Kohen, and if she's not married to the Levi, she has the right to eat Truma. Where do you get up that she can't eat Meiser? She should at least be able to eat Meiser. Right? She's a Bas Levi. She's not yet married to the Kohen, or she doesn't yet have the Kohen's baby. But why can't she eat Meiser? Anybody can eat Meiser. You're telling me she can't? Omer of Sheshes, ma ena acheles dikatani. When it says she can't eat, it doesn't mean that. What it really means is she can't either do the act or designate a representative to do the act of taking truma from the Meiser. When a Levi gets Meiser, he can't eat it until he takes truma to give to a Kohen. So let's say a Levi has a pregnant wife, right? Or she wants to take out the truma from the Meiser so she can feed herself and the kids. Her husband's away. She's not allowed to do that. So miklal denesua nasenes rishus. So that would imply, if it says an arusa can't, that would imply that an asua can. Okay, is that absolutely? That's the sanya we had openly in a brisa. Va'achaltem aisei mikol makam atem ubeisechem. That the Levi can eat the Meiser anywhere he likes, meaning outside of Jerusalem, and his family, his wife, basic ishto kabiso. The word beisechem is implied, means his wife. Lime, to teach us, al nisu abas Yisrael shenoi senes rishus lisarim, that a Yisroel, a Bas Yisroel, who's married to a Levi by Nisuyin, may absolutely separate Truma herself or designate someone else to do it from the Meiser so she can feed herself and her kids when the man's away. Ata Omer Rishus L'Sraim, you tell me she has the right to do the preparation of the Meiser to make it edible by taking out the Truma? Maybe the Pasuk, oh, Eina Elalecho. Maybe the Pasuk says she's allowed to feed herself and the kids, even if her husband isn't home. It's just to eat it. Well, that's obviously not right. Amar Truma, Charuma Acheles. We already said that a woman who's a Bas Yisroel, who's married, fully married in Isua, to a Kohen, has freedom to eat in her own house. She can eat Truma. And Truma is a Chamor vis-a-vis Meiser, which is Kal. So how could you say Meiser, the Hakal, lo Kol Shekeh? How can you say it's that she could possibly be restricted to only eating Meiser, and the pasuk has to come to let her eat Meiser? That's ridiculous. It's a kal v'chomer backwards, so to speak. Ela lime kol nesua bas Yisrael shenosenis rishus l'sro. This teaches us that a woman who's married to a Levi can either take or designate someone else to take Trumas Meiser from the Meiser so she can eat it. Okay. Now, we talked about Reb Meir saying that Yisrael can't eat Meiser, and we rejected that because of the end of the Mishnah. So we're going back. Mar Berei de Ravina Aymar, he says the following. Lomar she'en cholkin lo meiser beis ha-geroinos. What the pasuk really means is that the wife of a Levi or a Kohen, depending if you're talking Truma and Meiser, or her designated representative, cannot go to the place where the grain is threshed and say, I'm here to pick up the Levine's Meiser.
Alcinites?
What?
Alcinites?
That's going to be one of the suggestions. Okay. The other suggestion is that a gezerah, because they don't know if she's a widow or a divorcee. Oh. The word didn't reach them yet, and they may give her something she's not entitled to. Okay. So why? That's fine, according to the opinion that it's because of a tznius issue. These are all a bunch of rough farm workers over there, and this hot girl comes marching in to get Meiser, and who knows what's going to happen. Elalamanda Omer Mishum Gerusha, but according to the opinion that was a gezerah, lest she had just gotten divorced and is trying to steal the Meiser. Gerusha Bas Levi Mila Achla Meiser. What do you do about the Mishnah had said a Bas Levi by a Kohen? In other words, a divorced Bas Levi can go pick up Meiser for her father. How do you handle that? And according to the opinion that you can't give truma to the Kohen's wife. Okay. Gerusha bas Kohen Mila Achla Betruma. What about the divorced wife of a Kohen who happens to be a Kohenes who did not have children? If she doesn't have children, she could eat by the tati. If she does have children, she could eat by the son. So why can't she go pick up the truma? Right? Ella Gezerer Mishem Gerusha bas Yisrael. So the whole thing is a low plug gezerah, lest a Bas Yisrael who got dumped by a Kohen or a Levi tries to pull a fast one and collect Truma or Meiser. And that's the rationale why we do not let the woman do or designate. Okay, everybody got that? Ihachi, my arya may ureses.
Why does it keep saying the granary?
Because a granary is where you that when the tavua is when the grains of wheat are threshed out of and then heaped up. That's the point where truma and meiser is chol.
So once it's out of there, it's already assumed that it's giving.
She went to in other words, a Kohen. That's where it is. So that's where the Levium and the Kahanim line up to get their grub. Okay. I did the Tanaresha. So then the next question is, so if this is a gezerah with regard to a widow, to a divorcee, it should have said Nesua. Why does it say Arusa at the beginning of the Mishnah? Okay. I did the Tanaresha Aresa since the very first case where the woman waiting to be fully married or waiting to be a Yavam, for her Yavam, she can't yet eat, but will be able to in a little while. We have to say there, Arusa, to make it easier to memorize the Mishnah, Tananami Sefer Me Ureses. They say the same thing at the end. Okay, next. With regard to Truma and Meiser, okay, and who can collect? We hinted to this earlier. Tana Rabbana, Truma leKohen, uMeiser Rishon leLevi, Divrei Rebbe Akiva. As far as Rebbe Akiva is concerned, Kahanim may take Truma from the farmer or from the threshing floor. Levi may take Meiser Rishon. A Kohen may not take Meiser Rishon. That's Rebbe Akiva. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Omer, turn the page. LeKohen. That even Meiser Rishon can go to a Kohen. He's a member of Shevet Levi. LeKohen v'lo Levi. So he says, what do you mean? You cut the Levium out? You only give Meiser Rishon to a Kohen, just that you only gave it the Truma to the Kohen? Ema afla Kohen, also to a Kohen. So if there are no Levim around, or if there is a pushy Kohen, he can grab the Meiser Rishon too, according to Rav Elazar. Okay. My time at the Rebbe Akiva. What is the rationale of Rebbe Akiva? After all, Kahanim are Leviim. So Rebbe Akiva says, Diksiv, I look at this pasuk, El HaLeviim Tidaber, you should say this to the Leviim, V'armata lehem, and say to them, the Leviim Komash Makori. The pasuk is only talking about Leviim, it's excluding Kahanim. The Idach, what is the Rabbi, how does he say that a Kohen can pick it up if the pasuk says Leviim get Meiser and doesn't mention Kahanim? The Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. All right, we're going to have now a Chumash lesson. Ve'esrim va'arba k'makaimas nikra Kahanim Leviim. 24 times the Torah says HaKahanim HaLeviim. It makes Kahanim clearly part of Shevet Levi. Okay? V'zeh echad mehem, and one of those pasukim is hakahanim halavim b'nei tzadok. That the kahanim who are also Leviim, the children of tzadok. So therefore, that the word Leviim includes the word Kohen. So a Kohen should be able to pick up Meiser. Pashut from the Pasuk. For Rebbe Akiva, why does Rebbe Akiva exclude that possibility? Hachala matzis amart. You can't say that the word Leviim always includes Kahanim, Diksiv, because there's another Pasuk. Va'achaltem also b'chol makom. You do not restrict eating Meiser to Yerushalayim. It can be eaten anywhere. V'chol makom, in any place. So therefore, you can only give Meiser to someone who can eat it anywhere he feels like eating it, which is not the case with a Kohen, right? Can a Kohen really eat Truma anywhere he wants? Yes, a Kohen. That would exclude a Kohen. A Kohen, a Levi, could make a picnic in a cemetery. Beautiful place. There's a bench there. He could make a Meiser sandwich. While he's visiting his dead parents, he could eat a sandwich. Kohen can't go to the cemetery. So the whole makom restricts the Kohen from eating anywhere he wants, and therefore Rabbi Akiva says restricts the Kohen from taking Meiser. The Idach, how does the Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah deal with this v'chol makom that seems to restrict the Kohen from taking Meiser? He says he can. Okay, kol heichad the boy, meaning wherever he feels like it, meaning outside of Jerusalem. The lo boy choyma. So the whole makom means, as opposed to truma that has to be eaten in Jerusalem, this can be eaten in the rest of the country. And furthermore, if a Kohen were to eat truma that is tameh, he gets malchus for that. But here, the pasuk v'chol makom comes. What?
He was tameh.
Or the meat, or the truma. Either way, either the food or the fellow are tameh. Then you're not allowed to eat the truma, and if you do, you get malchus. But a Kohen or a Levi or a Yisrael, as we paskin, can eat meiser where it or he is tameh. And that's what he does with V'chol Makom. Okay? Now, Rav Elazar himself, historical note, was a Kohen. And he's the one that says a Kohen can take Meiser. So this is perhaps self-interest. And he and Rabbi Akiva have a Meiser now that demonstrates that. Haho ginza dahave shakal Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Meiser Rishon Mineh. There was a gardener, a farm, whatever, and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah went there as a Kohen and picked up Meiser. And what did Rabbi Akiva do? Azul Rabbi Akiva ahadre lepischa lebei kvore. So Rabbi Akiva took dead bodies and buried them in front of the gateway to that farm. So Rabbi Elazar couldn't go in there to pick up the Meiser. Okay? Amar. Now, Rabbi Elazar, number one, is a descendant of a Kohen Gadol. And number two, Rabbi Elazar is one of the richest men in the world. Rabbi Akiva is the son of was a shepherd. He is the descendant of Gerim. In other words, Rebbe Elazar can view Rebbe Akiva as an upstart. And he makes that comment. Akiva, Betar Milu Anachai. Rebbe Akiva still walks around with his shepherd's pouch. The shepherd would carry his meal in a pouch because he's living out in the field with the sheep. Even though you prevent me from eating meiser from that farm, I'm still a rich fellow. I have plenty of food. Okay? Now, one of the possible rationales for Rav Elazar ben Azariah saying that a Kohen can pick up meiser, a historical note. When the Jews came out of Bavel, the first wave of Jews that came out of Bavel, they were the big, the ardent Zionists, to make an analogy to our day. But the people who were well established weren't so interested in going. And the upper classes tend to be the more established people. So the Levium, they couldn't get the Levium to go to Israel for love or money.
Like the nightlife of Bavel.
The nightlife of Bavel. Very good. So Ezra made a takana that Levium cannot get Meiser anymore. But because Kohanim did go, they can take that Meiser. And now Rebbe Elazar and Rebbe Akiva were subject perhaps to that Gezerah. It's 800 years later. Okay? Itmar, we have a brisa. Mipnei ma kansu leviim b'meiser. Why did they make this gezerah that the Levium were not allowed to take meiser anymore? Pligi ba Rabbi Yochanan v'Savai. Rabbi Yochanan and the other elders disputed what the reason was. Chad Omer, one says, Shalo Olu b'mei Ezra, the punishment is because they did not ascend to Israel when they were given the opportunity at the end of the Babylonian exile. V'chad Omer, and the others said that this was a welfare program for the Kohanim. Because if you only give Kohanim Truma, and the Kohanim are Tameh because they were in Bavel, and if you're outside of Eretz Israel, you become Tameh. They wouldn't be able to eat Truma. They wouldn't have anything to eat. So we let them take Meiser, which is allowed to be eaten when you're Tameh.
So they can eat food, no?
Yeah, of course, but they don't have a farm. You can grow chulin and eat it. But if I don't have a farm, I have to be subject to your generosity. I could be a workman, but I'm busy in the temple. I don't make a living.
Only working for 2 weeks a year, but
I don't make a living, so I need truma to live on. But now I'm tameh, so I need something else to live on. Okay, Kidei Yismechu Kahanim Alav B'mei Tumasan. So the Kohanim would have something to eat when they were tameh. That were the two arguments why they were given the meiser. It makes good. It works out well, according to say that the Levium never went. Mishum hachi kinisahu. That's the reason they were literally fined. They were punished by not getting. Okay. Avalamanda Amr Kedei, she yismachu alav kahanim b'mei tumasan, mishum kahanim kanisuhu l'leviim. Do we feed the kahanim at the expense of the Leviim? Literally, because of the tumah of the kahanim, we put it on the backs of the Leviim? Everybody should have to be responsible. Your question. Why stick the obligation on the Levium? They go hungry, so the Kohanim don't go hungry? Doesn't make sense. Ela kula alma, everybody agrees. Kansu shala olav b'mei Ezra. Everybody agrees this is a gezerah on the Levium because they were fat and happy in Bavel and didn't want to go. Okay? So, but we still, so what's Rabbi Yochanan and the other, Yonason rather, and the other Rabbanan arguing about? Here's what they argued about. Mar Salvar, one opinion is Kansala Aniya. When they penalized the Kahanim, the Levium, they said Meiser Rishon is more like Meiser Ani than it is like Truma. So instead of giving this food to the Levium, let's give an annual ration of what used to be Meiser Rishon to the poor people. Okay? V'mar Savar, and the other opinion is, you're right, you go to the poor people. But a Kohen who can't eat Truma is a poor person. So that if they become the poor people, they get first dibs. Okay? Kahanim b'mei tumasan aniyim ninahu. That the Kahanim who are unable to eat their normal food source are now considered aniyim. So Bishlam, now we keep that in mind when we think of Rebbe Lezer, who was one of the richest men in the world, right? Bishlam Elamanda Amr Kansel Aniyim, we really give it to real poor people. Mishum Hachi Adere Rebbe Akiva, the Pischa Lebeik Kivre. That's why Rebbe Akiva put the gravesite directly in front of the door of that farm, because he held that the Meiser goes to real poor people, not to a multi-billionaire. Elalamanda Amr Kahanim, according to the opinion that it goes to Kahanim. Amai Adere Lepiska Debe Kivrei. Why would Rebbe Akiva actually put dead bodies there so that he can't get in? Okay? Here is Rebbe Akiva's opinion. Idika asis b'tayras kanasa islach. If you were coming to collect it because you think the Levium were penalized and you have a right to collect it, gesund, take it. But if you're saying that you're getting it because you have a Torah obligation to take it, no deal, buddy. You don't get it. Okay, and we'll just finish up. We'll go only to the Mishnah. Umanalan, Dalo, Silka, B'mei Ezra. How do we know? We made the assumption we penalized the Levium because they didn't go to Israel. Prove it, Gemara says. So they bring a pasuk, Tiksiv, the Expetsem al Hanar, Haba al Hachaza, they Ahava rather. They gathered the Jews, Ezra and Nehemiah gathered the Jews by a river, and they got to the Ahava river. Okay, the Nachan Sham Yomim Shloisha, and they camped there for 3 days. The Avina Ba'am, and I checked out the camp of the regular people, Uba Kohanim, and the camp of the Kohanim, Ibnei Levi, Lo Motzasi Shom, and I didn't find a single Levite in either the regular camp or the Kohanic camp. Omer Rav Chisda, all right. Now they're going to talk about another privilege that the Levium lost. And this was much earlier. Beschila lahavo ma'amidim shaitrim elamin Levium. When Moshe Rabbeinu appointed policemen in the midbar, they were only Levium shenemar. V'shotrim haleviim lifneihem. The policemen are Levium in front of you. Achshav, nowadays, ein ma'amidim shoitrin elam Yisroel. Now we only appoint cops from the Bnei Yisrael. Leviim are not allowed. Shenemar shoitrim harbim b'rosheichem. That there are many who can be officers at your head. And that's where we'll stop, and we'll pick up tomorrow. And I apologize for the early bird flash on tomorrow's Gemara.
Want to do Shaloka Darka?
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Oh, it's only 9:20, Mel. We're out of here. We'll be fine. With the extra Gemara, it's only 9:20.
Tomorrow go fast.
Yeah.
Just do Chazorah.
Okay, now with regard to Shavuos, nobody's spoken to me.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I vote for Shavuos.
What?
I'm voting for Shavuos.
You're voting to have a Shavuos? I would assume David's doing a Shavuos.
Yeah.
And I'll pick up again on Tuesday.
Oh, Rabbi Green will not be back.
Rabbi Green is coming back next week. I'm hoping early next week.
Okay.
That's my hope and prayer.
What time are you learning on Shavuos?
I'm not.
What time?
I mean, if you want to learn with me, I learn tomorrow's Gemara. I will be learning in my house after the 7:30 minyan. Everybody's welcome to join. But I believe that David will be doing it in the afternoon on Shavuos as he does on Shabbos. But I have not been told that. That's just a supposition.
Making an educated guess.
Anyway, you take a look with the.
Well, I thought he would ask me, since I've been doing it every day. I'm sort of being makbid on my cover.
You know, with the Aliyahs, yesterday you had the Kohen, there was no Levi, so didn't call Levi.
Yeah.
But you could never have that in reverse.
No, you can't.
Okay, so that's it. You know, as far as the Kohen and Levi is concerned.
Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't be so proud to be part of a Shevet that refused to go to Israel.
Well,
No?
No, because if you were there,
don't forget, the Kohanim did go.
What?
The Kohanim did go.
Some Kahanim went.
They went.
Yeah, because they get to eat free food in the base of Mikdash.
Oh, that's right.
Whereas the Levium just have to work.
Rabbanon, Aharon, Es was a Zuk. Oi, Gavot.
And not only that, they didn't even wait for the base of Mikdash to be built. They started eating cod